much needed Christmas gift for all Americans. The White House promising major economic growth in the new year and more money directly into people's pockets. Who wouldn't want that? Welcome to the Big Money Show. I'm Jackie DeAngelis, along with my co-hosts Lydia Hu, Taylor Riggs, Lou Basenese, and with us for the hour, Fox News contributor David Webb. I think when you see in the first half of the year, people get those checks from the IRS. And remember, as Taylor always points out, this is not printed money. This is money that people earned. It incentivizes work. That's like a really positive core foundation to keep building on.
Yeah, it's more stimulus. I mean, I think you said it best. The early adopters were rewarded for believing in the president. Now you can be a little bit later of adopter and still join this trend. I mean, I look at, you said at the top, the gas prices, right? Mm-hmm. Transportation is a hidden tax on everyone. It's not just for road trips. It's on logistics, it's on grocery prices, it's on airlines. Every 10-cent decrease puts about $15 billion back into Americans' pockets. So we're talking about maybe 5 to 7 times that has happened, like the decrease in gas prices. So you got about $100 billion of stimulus coming from that. We've got stimulus from the tax cuts. I just look across the jobless claims. They're actually historically really low. The benchmark we used to look at on Wall Street was under 300,000. So we're well below. Like, I don't know what it is. You asked a very difficult question on the political side. I think it's this. Republicans want to celebrate America's success and capitalism's success. Democrats, they'll tolerate it, but they're not going to make everyone say, hey, this is a good thing.
I think what it really is the stronger the capitalist model is, the more it pokes holes in what they're trying to do. So it's sort of the two agendas are really clashing and butting heads.
Why are gas prices still over $4 a gallon in California when they can be around $2.50 in Texas?
Yeah, I
think Gavin Newsom wants it that way.
Yeah, you put a fine point on that. The reason that inflation is staying a little bit higher than target is because of structural and regulatory problems. You look at it, it's real estate, it's energy, it's healthcare costs. It's not demand driven that's pushing prices higher. And so it's not a surprise to see in red states that have a better regulatory environment and a grasp on what works for economics and what works for capitalism that the prices are coming down.
Now, this is all according to a Reuters report, but they are saying that NVIDIA had been testing some of their chip manufacturing on Intel's 18A process. They've now reportedly stopped doing that. So that would be a bad thing for Intel if NVIDIA was testing that out and then saying, okay, never mind, we're not going to move forward with that plan. So we'll have to see how this shakes out. But again, not great news for Intel this morning.
Yeah, I'd say trust but verify here a little bit, because we've seen a lot of reporting about these tech deals falling through a data center, and then it comes back and the companies say, hey, this isn't true. Let's see where the business goes out. I mean, I was wrong about Intel. Stock's up about 80% this year.
Yeah.
Strong rebound. It's okay to be wrong sometimes.
It was backed by the full faith and credit.
We didn't say why.
Okay.
The counter argument to that is, but you're taking more money out of the consumer pocket right when we are thinking about how much of this economy is dependent on consumer spending. How much are we talking about the K-shaped economy where now those low-income borrowers who maybe are saddled with debt, and not everyone saddled with student loan debt is low income. I want to make that clear. Most of them are lawyers and doctors. But that means less money in the paycheck.
Yeah, I can play the sympathy card for a little bit here, because the stats are there. 60% of the borrowers that are in default make under $40,000 a year. That is peanuts, right? That's not a lot of money. I also had 6 figures in student debt. I also, through the financial crisis, in the real estate boom, had a home that I could have walked away from. But I think you're absolutely right. This is getting back to getting away from moral hazard, right? You signed a contract, and as painful as it's going to be, if you agreed to pay child support, you have to pay that. And you're young enough where you can learn these lessons, that these contracts have consequences, and it's not fun, and you're going to have less money in your paycheck. So I'm not unsympathetic to the difficulty, but it's better to go through this now younger, as opposed to borrowing money later and repeating these behaviors in your 40s and 50s and creating another financial crisis at the hands of just giveaway, government, right? That's what we're seeing, that fraud in Minnesota, fraud in California. Let's go back, swing this pendulum back with aggression, and get back to the way capital markets work and function properly.
If you paid a university a lot of money for some degree and you're having a hard time finding a job, you should be vocal about that. You should let that university know, and you should let every student that is applying to go to that school and considering that path, let them know as well and hold that school accountable.
Yeah, it wasn't a few weeks ago we were talking about PwC that was providing resiliency training, right, for people that have. This is an opportunity where you're going to learn to be resilient. Life's not fair. We were told things that didn't necessarily work out. You have to be an owner of your own destiny and figure it out. I mean, it's not fun, but we've all done it. We've all been there.
Yeah. One,
Don't look at me.
I mean, I know you're sympathetic.
no,
Let's say you've got a kid that wants a Prada bag, and a Prada bag is too expensive for your budget, but you can buy it on the Real, or you can get it somewhere else, gently used, and it's more affordable, and it's then within the budget.
I think you got to be careful. My kids want you as the mom.
Yeah, seriously.
Because my answer is no. Your answer is yeah, the Real.
I'm looking at innovative ways to be able to make people happy.
Yeah.
And it's the thought
that's
that
just
counts,
one
right?
example. So,
Yeah. It's the thought that counts.
This interests me from two reasons, because we hear a lot about the K-shaped recovery in the economy, right? So this is indicative of that. You would expect that you would look for bargains and values elsewhere, but at the same time, we always, in past excessive booms, we saw consumers run up credit card debts. So this is better behavior. So even if there is a strained recovery with lower incomes, you're seeing better behavior that's not going to lead to worse outcomes down the road. So I think it's an encouraging sign, and I'm not against it. If you got that extra bottle re-gifted of scotch, send it my way.
I didn't get one.
This isn't super luxury, but Lululemon has that buyback program where I could take back gently used leggings. I think they buy them back for 10 or 20 bucks. I get a store credit, and then they can resell them as part of the gently used product. And so I do think that this is something that's worth thinking about. It just sitting in the landfill.
I'd just like to know if, Lou, when you have your gently used leggings, do you return them?
I own 0 Lululemon. I would say, though, I'm encouraged by this trend, because growing up, I remember getting hand-me-downs from my mom's colleagues from their older sons, so at least this is a little bit better than just the brown bag full of clothes and toys that
I think the
kids have.
key is separate things. Truly vintage, truly unique, something like that. I get it. Has actually its own story, but I don't know, eBay.
I'm buying you brand new leggings, by the way, once we get off from Lululemon.
Thank you. And I'll have the scotch for you in your office.
Okay, thank you.
Tim Cook, the new Warren Buffett.
Yeah, I disagree with you 100% on that.
So Tim, listen. So when Warren Buffett buys something or Berkshire Hathaway buys something, that company rallies because it's a huge vote of confidence in that company. Similar thing happening today with Nike. Tim Cook, who has been on the board of Nike since about 2005, came out and said that he bought 50,000 shares of Nike at about a 58, 59 price target. This is according to a regulatory filing. So he now owns about 105,000 shares of Nike. It's now worth about $6 million. So the stock is rallying because you have Tim Cook coming out and saying, all right, I'm buying. Is that a vote of confidence for anyone?
It is for me, because insiders buy for absolutely one reason, and that's because they think the stock is going
Undervalued.
up. It's undervalued.
Yeah.
Tim Cook's been on the board, like you said, for 20 years. I went and looked at all the filings. He has not purchased any other shares ever in the existence of being on the board. So this is a vote of confidence.
Really powerful. So even if you're on the fringes and just kind of curious about this return to religion, it's a really easy way of exploring what's maybe out there for you and bring you a little bit closer to your own faith.
Hello?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. We were talking about pendulum swinging before, and if you look at past Pew Research studies, for years, church attendance was declining. Youth that grew up in the church were leaving the church. So I think it's an encouraging trend that we're returning to a moral compass. We're returning to things. But I would say, to your point, David, I think you made a really good one. It's not about denominations. Let's not get into the intricacies and the differences between the Protestants and Martin Luther and the Catholics. This is about community. Religion is a deeply personal thing. It's a journey. But to, you're saying they're pursuing the source, the Bible, and they're going on that journey. I don't see how anything bad comes from that compared to all the other things that you could be doing with your time in this digital age.
All right. Amen. David Webb, thank you for being here. That flew by.
Always.
I will be waiting for my scotch coming up. It's starting to come together, and I think that this is setting us up for, indeed, a very prosperous 2026. I still say the last year, although it was volatile, was better than the previous 4 years. So if next year is better than this one, I will take it. We're on the right track.
You were a little reticent earlier in the year. We were talking about this rally. You're like, hey, I don't see anything that stops it, but I don't want to just say buy into it's a runaway bull market. Are you changing your sentiment to cautiously optimistic?
Slowly, I've changed because I was looking at it cyclically, just saying what many others were saying, which is the market can't just go up, 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 up. And all the years that I've been watching the markets, they don't do that. And that's not to say that there might not be a healthy correction next year. And I still think that's okay. And I think it probably will present a buying opportunity. But I think AI has made the story a little bit different. I think we're going to see next year a little bit of a change in AI as well, which is that winners are going to emerge and some losers may start to kind of get weeded out of the ecosystem, which is also okay because that's part of the process. But I think that the change in technology. I look back to the internet and the dot-com boom under Bill Clinton. It was kind of a golden age, and he was sort of lucky to run into it at that particular time. I would say this: Joe Biden literally tried to shut it down. Yeah. President Trump was smart enough to open it up and say, this could be really good for us. I want to move forward full force ahead. So, I mean, there's luck and then there's not luck in his case.
I'm just happy to welcome you to the runaway bull train finally on this side, because everyone knows I'm not going to be the Grinch here, but I've always pointed to, I think Gary put his finger on it rightly, that financials actually doing great for the last 3 or 4 years, up double digits. That's a rare streak for financials. But if you look at earnings growth for the last 4 quarters, I always talk about this. Earnings ultimately drive stock prices. They're up double digits. They probably will be again in 2026. And don't fight the Fed. The Fed is going to probably lower rates again more than once in 2026.
Talk to me about earnings, and then Lydia, I want to come to you. So, Lou, this is from Morgan Stanley, the economics team, where they were saying that input costs were being eaten by firms in the second quarter, but that third quarter GDP number showed that they're now able to recover their margins by pushing costs maybe out to the consumer, or, as they say, recover margins because AI productivity is going to allow them to have more profit without much inflation. Basically, they say they're we view 2026 as a year where downside risk to the economy gives way to the tailwinds of fiscal stimulus, AI-related spending, and healthy balance sheets of upper-income consumers. Everything I've heard about next year is the fewer downside risks to the economy, that actually the risk of GDP really here is to the upside.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to distill down that what can be a, as clear as mud note from a lot of these sell side guys, right? For the average American, like, how do you make sense of all those different inputs?
I wish they were all bearish.
I know, right? I would too. That would be a great contrarian indicator. But I think to your point, and we talked about it earlier, like we had a 4.3% GDP number. We talked about it yesterday. Real estate was a 2.1% negative drag on that. To Jackie's point, if we get down to 5% mortgages in some way in that realm, and it unlocks the real estate residential investment, we could get to Larry Kudlow's 5% growth rate that he expects for next year. So I think it's like you said, no downside risk.
Can I just say something about this 5% mortgage? That would mean the 10-year yield, the free market is coming down, which has nothing to do with the Fed. I'd like the Fed to go over here, not worried. If the free market takes the 10-year down a point, that would be huge. The cost of capital going down, the cost of lending going down, the cost to borrow going down. You combine that with oil prices. Win, win, win,
Can you
win.
do that in a non-recessionary environment?
Sure.
Great.
Look, all this talk about inflation and growth, I hate when I hear somebody say, oh, we're too hot. No, it's always great to have an economy hot, and it doesn't cause inflation. What causes inflation is Jay Powell printing to $9 trillion and taking the 10-year yield down to 0.5%, and Biden, of course, increasing spending by gargantuan amounts. My hope is the president doesn't go too easy. If he goes too easy, that can incite inflation again. We don't want to see the 10-year yield go up while they lower Fed funds.
Right.
That could be troublesome. So I'm hoping cooler heads prevail there, because I heard him say 1%, no thank you.
That's
and unfortunately, he's going to put somebody in there that is basically Donald Trump. And let's just hope if they want to go down to 3%, fine. Don't do too much more than that.
Correct me if I'm wrong on the bond market. If you have a Goldilocks scenario where the economy is chugging along, the Fed lowers rates enough to stimulate, I'm not saying take them down to zero,
right,
but, unlock housing a little, make it less costly for people to get into their car loans and their mortgages, that's going to be a positive thing. That would mean to me, you set up a scenario, because I'm thinking about the bond markets, where investors want to buy our debt. That would push the yield down. And that's where sort of the markets would balance naturally.
Sounds good to me. Gary?
Work on the deficit.
I know.
And you can get yields coming down even more. Simple as that. I've heard that the deficit's been coming down. All I can tell you, the last 2 months, the debt was up $250 billion each month. Yep. That's a $3 trillion run rate for the year. That needs to be fixed.
But
if you're Larry, you say the only way out of this is to grow our way out of it.
Spending.
I think Larry, he's got a point, because I agree. We should cut spending 100%, but we have shown no discipline whatsoever to do it in any instance. So the other side of that equation that balances out is grow out of it if you can. I just don't have any confidence in elected officials in Washington cutting their spending.
Ever.
They didn't cut enough But they did rein it in a little.
It's a good
better
start.
than nothing.
They said they've been implementing fleet-wide updates that provide the driver with specific power outage context, allowing it to navigate more decisively, whatever that means. They'll improve our emergency response protocols, and then, of course, blaming the gridlock and the fact that all of those went out on Saturday because it was just like a massive citywide disruption. I just loved Elon Musk came out and he said, Teslas were fine.
Yeah, so here's my thing. Look, we're still in the infancy of this industry right now. Bad pun intended. This is a bump in the road for driverless cars. They're going to figure this out. I think Waymo has in its advantage a technological one, not just more miles logged. They use LiDAR instead of just cameras. It's more safe over time. But I'm also an unashamedly Google Alphabet bull. So obviously I'm not going to pick.
It's a good thing Dagan's not here.
I know.
Yeah.
Had those.
She canceled her Gmail a few weeks ago. She decided she hated Google.
This, to me, is innovation at its best. Times change. You know, markets are fluid, customers and their lifestyles are fluid, and therefore the food companies are adapting.
Yeah, I think there's no denying that the demand demographics are changing for sure. I'm a little reticent to accept that these companies are really changing because remember when gluten suddenly became the biggest allergen and now they put gluten-free labels on water which never had gluten on it. It was a marketing thing. You're just like, well, no duh, that doesn't have gluten.
I remember when I was like, look, the popcorn's gluten-free. My husband's like, it's always gluten-free, you idiot.
And how's that Beyond Meat doing?
But I think you're putting a finger on you have to innovate these companies, and this is probably music to your ears. I think America as a country is slowly moving towards unprocessed, more clean, natural food. How do these processed food makers adapt in that scenario? Well, you see there's a lot of upstart food suppliers that are doing clean proteins and just different ways that now these big behemoths need to adapt to that. So I absolutely think you're right. They have to innovate. Until they do, their stocks are probably going to suffer, like Gary had suggested.
And it might not just be for GLP-1 patients, people who are taking these drugs. Like you said, there's a trend to eat healthier, to eat better. For people who can manage their weight naturally, offering more options is always a good thing. It can't really hurt them.
Highlights include drunken ferrets, cocaine-dosed dogs, beagles under controversial studies, and monkeys playing video games, all funded by you, by me, the taxpayer. The report also slams Biden-era infrastructure spending, noting that $7.5 billion was approved for electrical vehicle chargers, but only 68 stations are actually up and running nationwide. Lou, when you get down into this report, there's some really shocking things that we just enumerated. A couple of other things, $5.2 million, that's how much was spent on dosing the cocaines. He notes again, apparently we've done this before. $13.8 million went toward the beagle experiments. I thought we were a nation of pet lovers and animal lovers, but apparently not.
Yeah, and I think in this day and age, too, there's no excuse for that. We have technologies where we don't have to test on animals, any type of things like this. I think what's more frustrating is that it only comes out once a year. Why are we not shining the light on this every day of every week to bring down cost and wasteful spending in government? Because, I mean, if you look at this, what was the top line number?
1.6 trillion.
Right? So that's,
trillion.
I wanted to make sure it was with a T, because if I think about that, that's equivalent to the taxes that have been paid by the bottom 60% earners. It's about half of our Social Security spending each year. Like, this is a huge number that's getting just basically lit on fire. And that's your hard-earned capital, our hard-earned capital for working.
I'm infuriated by the animal aspect of this, number one. Number two, it goes to the point that I was making earlier this week, which is that we are a very wealthy nation. Those of us who pay taxes, we pay them, for the most part, people do, without being too grumpy about it. We have plenty of money to do the things that we need to do, but when you're spending and wasting money in this way, like you say, $1.6 trillion, that is not insignificant. There was something, the animal testing just drives me insane, especially with all of the technology and AI coming online. Leave the animals alone. They did experiments with the monkeys too that I just find
Are you reading
metal
that?
head posts.
Screwing the metal head posts into their skulls to force them to play a video game.
It
Did
sounds
you
more
see
like
what,
torture than anything else.
K Jr. said over the weekend?
No.
That he's really looking to end all animal testing.
We can do it. There was a company I met with, Neon Technologies, that they have an AI that they're doing living cells. So they're for their pre-IND, preclinical studies, which is normally done on animals. They do it in a living, basically a petri dish on living cells and not animals.
It'll be interesting to see who lobbies against that and why.
Exactly.
Follow up.
Yeah, so RFK Jr. said that all of the major agencies are committed to ending animal experimentation, and he's focused specifically on monkey testing or non-human primate testing. He said there's over 100,000 monkeys in primate testing labs around the country. 20,000 are being imported every year. He said he's trying to put an end to that. 50 million people go down to D.C., and I don't want burning cities. I don't like burning cities.
I didn't
but
say
we
that.
need to. Well, I said that because I get close to wanting to burn that whole
He said
damn
10.
place
You went up to
down.
50 million. So like you're going big.
It's a sin. It's a
revolt and make it stop. All those protests in 2020 is how we
but
got
look,
all that DEI stuff. If there's enough of us protesting this, we'll force them to stop. Voting them out hasn't worked
Just
so
like
far.
they'll never stop spending, if you impose term limits, which will never happen, it'll return civil service to civil service because you'll have a legacy that you'll have to answer for, and you'll have a limited amount of time to accomplish things. When you know that there's no end and you can trade stocks endlessly and retire and have all these pork belly products.
Guess who votes on term limits? The culprits.
Yeah,
Case
exactly.
closed.
I know. It won't happen.
Hold on, I got a coupon for that. It was in the paper this morning. 1983. Okay.
How times and prices have changed, but I love that he used a coupon. Home Alone's Kevin McAllister left that grocery store with quite a haul, and it only cost him $19.83, including that coupon that I just mentioned for $1. One calculation estimates that that same grocery list would cost him $52.95 here now in 2025. That's a price increase of 167% over the past 35 years. Now, I can't do back of the napkin math that quickly, but if you guys can, have wages increased since that year that much?
Hold
Were
on.
the $52
How many years was it?
since 1983?
Okay.
That it
Hold on,
doesn't
give me a
feel
minute.
as bad. I mean, I personally have the experience of walking into the grocery store and I feel like I pick up 3 things and it's $50.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what 3 things they are, but I'm walking out with 3 things and I'm like, wow.
And I think that's the key. Everyone talks about individual items going down like eggs, but it's the end of the day, how much am I spending when I walk out? It's the total collective cost, not the value. I don't think anyone thinks they get value nowadays. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
can't do this
texting.
math.
I'm trying
No,
to
they're
find
doing the
trying
math
to-
for me. So, Gary, filibuster.
Well, let me just say this. Just by coincidence, a couple of weeks ago, I was looking at a column about prices in 1980 versus today, and not just food, rent, homes, cars. Everything has just absolutely skyrocketed. I don't know how anybody keeps up that's making $50,000 a year, and now I'm hearing about people that are making $100,000 to $200,000 a year that can't save any money right now. So I don't know how it works out, when it works out, at what point it works out, but things had better work out a little bit better on prices and how much people are making. More importantly, how much they're saving going forward because of all this spending.
All right, I was wrong on the year. I think it was the 83 cents in the night. That's where it got 1983 from.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so since the movie came out in 1990, I have, according to Social Security Administration data, wages are up 232% over that time versus the 165.
Inflation adjusted.
Whose
Those
wages?
are nominal wages.
Nominal wages.
So we want real wages.
What's the value of the dollar done over that time? I think it's complicated.
Yes, flat.
I don't buy it.
What
They're
do you
saying real wages are only up 25% since 1990.
See, I do buy it.
You
I do buy
That
it,
feels
and that's
low to
why
me.
I think there's sticker shock.
Because they said inflation cumulative is up 120 to 130% over that time. So real wages are only up 25%. It just felt low.
Yeah.
But I
If
guess
that's right,
inflation's the real biter.
That
right?
drives home the point today why we need wage increases. And we're starting to get that real wage increases under President Trump, which we didn't have under President Biden, which is so critical for the everyday American because prices are higher. We're talking about inflation rates coming down. Doesn't mean prices have come down. It just means the acceleration of those
Right.
price increases has slowed. So I think this is the key heading into 2026. Corporations have plenty of profits, plenty of profit margins to start paying higher wages, and that's what we need to see.
'Tis the season to forget. As the calendar winds down, Americans are losing track of time in between Christmas and New Year's. A new study reveals that many forget what day it is. They abandon routines and participate in cozy, carefree habits during this, quote, dead zone week, which is between, I guess, Christmas and New Year's. Let's go down the line. Do you lose track?
Right now, no, because I'm working, which is great, and I'm glad. I love the job, so that keeps me on task. But I totally understand how that happens. You just want to be cozy. You want to disconnect. You want to put the phone down, not worry about what text messages or emails. You want to lose track of yourself in the middle of your day and just have fun with your family and friends. I think that's really healthy, actually. I totally see how
What's
that
your
happens.
cozy, carefree activity, Lou?
Just daydreaming about things because the markets really aren't that open or busy. You're not worried about some unexpected news as you do here in the news cycle. I think Cal Newport has that group about that book about deep work. And this is the time of year Wall Street typically shuts down and you can actually do some thinking, deep work, not necessarily New Year's resolutions. I'm not one of those kind of guys, but just focusing on what could be next. And yeah.
Jackie, I think this is good. Aren't we supposed to disconnect and give our bodies and our minds time to heal and recover?
I think so. And while you're thinking ahead, I think it's also a good time for reflection. Year is coming to a close. We've accomplished a lot. We've been through a lot. Some of us, and I sometimes look in sort of bulk, say like the last 5 years, for example. But this is a good time to be with family, friends. I urge people, if you're sort of getting lost and losing track of time, lose track of your phone too. Don't sit on the couch with your family and just scroll. Be present.
Gary, not Larry. What is your favorite holiday tradition?
I'd like to say I disconnect. I never disconnect.
Oh.
I am a scheduler. I have 2 at-a-glance books that has everything written down to the 15 minutes as far as workouts, the markets itself. I have a group of peeps that follow me, so I send them things. So
You're Franklin Covey's dream right there.
Type A personality.
I'd like to say, I'll tell you when I do disconnect. Just about every year I go to Maui, and when I sit on Wailea Beach,
Sounds great.
I disconnect the heck out of at that point in time. But I love what I do. I love my family.
Yeah.
And I'm just into everything about what I do. So, I'd like to say differently, but I'm good.
Final minute, favorite Christmas movie? Is it always Home Alone?
Every time.
Christmas Story.
Christmas Story.
Home Alone.
Yay.
I just got reminded of March of the Wooden Soldiers from years ago. Just you got to go watch this movie. It's the great Laurel and Hardy.
Oh.
And it's just fabulous.
It's a Wonderful Life.
That's a good one. Miracle on 34th Street isn't bad.
The first one,
1930s something.
Edmund Quinn.
15 seconds. Nutcracker or Rockettes?
Oh, Nutcracker.
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 Rockettes.
What? No, I'm Nutcracker too.
The legs.
10 seconds. What other pop quiz?
I watched
might
Home
be
Alone
it.
with my kids for the first time, and that was fun to watch an old movie because my daughter's only 6. It's a little intense,
really
but it was
sweet.
fun. Yeah.
Okay, we're all done with pop quizzes for this Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, happy holidays from everyone here at Fox Business and the Big Money Show.